Well, I'm walking down Imberhorn Lane, where my secondary school is located. Just coming up to it now, so I'll have a film of that. It's very busy and noisy, as you can hear. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me. There's some traffic lights up there that didn't used to be there, but it's quite some years since I was at this school. So here it is. This is Imberhorn School, where I was here as a pupil. Feel a bit odd about filming a school because people don't tend to like it. I don't know. I'm not doing anything naughty. Well, obviously the purpose of this is to go down memory lane. Hasn't changed much. I think there's some new buildings at the back, but yeah, there it is. That classroom there, I think it was, that's where I used to have English, double English on a Friday. It's one of my favourite lessons, and because it's on a Friday, obviously it was the last lesson I had before the weekend. So there is a new building that wasn't there when I worked, when I was schooled here. That blue building, that's I think a new sports building there, and I've got a brick with my name on it in the walkway of that. Mark paid £50 for me to have a brick to help raise money for the school. So somewhere along there you can walk on my name with the date I attended this school. Now I'm walking along. I'm going to walk the way I used to walk home. Well, I used to cycle a lot of it actually. If I was walking, I would cut across there. There's a little ginnel. If I was cycling, I would be cycling up this road here. Trying to give you all behind this hedge are the school playing fields. We used to set off from the gym building and do cross-country running. That was the only thing I was ever good at sports-wise, was cross-country. I normally came first or second, and the only reason I did that was because I wanted to be back, changed, and in the warm before everyone else. Most of my schoolmates used cross-country running as an excuse to have a cigarette or 5. So you can't see it, but it's behind that bush. I've just found a path here that I don't ever remember going down, but I don't think I'll venture down there. I'm not sure where it leads to. But here's the playing fields. Anyway, I was no good at sport, as I said. We did rugby and cricket and all sorts of stuff. And cricket, I was normally, I've forgotten what you call it, but it's the people in cricket that stay on the outskirts and catch the ball or get the ball if it goes out. What's that called? Anyway, I was one of those, but I didn't tend to look at the ball. I normally made daisy chains or stuff like that. Yeah, there it is. So much as it was, the sixth form part is at the back. So that's the main new addition. That's new sports hall. Don't know if the old sports hall is still in use. But yeah, it's not changed much at all. I expect the way people are taught has changed, but the school itself is much the same as I left it back in the 80s. So I'm continuing up Imberhorn Lane, and we're about to come to Heathcote Drive. So I'll be going up Heathcote Drive, and then I'll be turning into Gardenwood Road. There's a lot of traffic about. The houses here are absolutely ridiculously expensive. If I see it, I'll show you. I saw some houses in an estate agent. There's not a lot's changed, to be honest. The only thing I've noticed mainly that's changed, apart from a lot more cars, is the trees have grown more. But walking here, it's very familiar. Just crossed over the road, Heathcote Drive, and this is Fairlawn Drive. Don't go up there. The next road is Gardenwood Road. It's Fairlawn Drive. Probably had school friends that lived up there. Here we have Fairlawn Drive. And for any of you watching outside the UK, you might want to see this is a post box, a familiar red pillar box. They'll be collecting anything from 7 a.m. is it? ER Elizabeth Regina Post Office. This is called the Garden Wood Estate. Well, probably not this bit, but the bit we're about to walk into. Well, we're about to turn into Gardenwood Road, which is the road I used to live on. But I used to live right at the other end, and it's quite a long and windy road. Houses like this would be at least 500,000, probably 600,000 pounds now. There is a bungalow for sale somewhere, similar to the ones over the road, and they want 480,000 for those. In where I live, you can buy a very nice detached house, new build, for far less than that. So here we are, walking up to Gardenwood Road. Don't know if that's the original sign there, it could well be. Here we are, Gardenwood Road. It's a lovely day, isn't it? I'm reminded of an accident that happened. A little boy was run over. I was walking home from school. It was just about up here. I think he was okay, but he was off school a long time. And I think I arrived before the ambulance. I remember another girl, I can't remember her name now, but she rushed up and said, "Oh no, he's been knocked over, he's been knocked over." Anyway, an ambulance was called. All I remember of what I saw of him was a grey, he was wearing shorts, because we were, I think, at primary school. He was wearing shorts and little grey socks, and I remember seeing some blood on his socks. But as I said, he was okay, but he was off school. They kept giving us updates in assembly, how he was getting on. I've no idea what his name was. But then again, I don't remember most people I was at school with, the names of a lot of people I was at school with. I remember some. That's the other end of Fairlawn Drive I showed you earlier. It comes up in a big loop. And we're just coming to the top, and then it levels out at the top here, and then it's downhill all the way, so it's great fun cycling home. This bit was a bit of a bind coming up here, but I was young and very fit. I still am fairly fit. So once you get to the top of here, it's mostly downhill, so I had fun on my racing bike, whizzing down there. There'll be some parts of this video where I don't speak and I'll have to do a voiceover. When I'm filming my old house, I don't really want to stand outside there and talk in case I'm noticed. But yeah, we're going a bit downhill now. Ooh, what's down there? I'm not sure. I don't think I ever... Well, I might have gone down there. I'm seeing all sorts of... Oh, it goes down there as well. I think it might connect to the old railway line where you can walk along or cycle along, which I did. These are older houses. I think they were built in the 50s. Once we get past this style of house, we're coming to a more 1960s development, which I think is known as the Gardenwood Estate. So just crossing the road at Crossways Avenue. Careful not to get run over. There's another pillar box there for you foreigners watching, or foreign viewers. Not foreigners, that sounds awful. There's actually got a payphone there. But in the old days, that would have been red to match the pillar box. Not many people, of course, use a payphone these days. They've all got mobile phones. There's Campbell Crescent down there. What I notice about this area compared to where I live, can't see any litter. There's litter everywhere where I live. Well, not everywhere, but that's quite prevalent. But yeah, so these houses would have been built around in the 50s, I think. This style of house, as I say, it's common in this road. Hope nobody tells me off for filming. That house has been sold. I wonder how much that was. They are very, very expensive houses in the south of England compared to the north. I don't think I'd want to live here again. If I had the money, I'd probably buy a little holiday house in this area. But I wouldn't want to live here, to be honest. Just crossing Lount Avenue, leading to St Edward's Close. More of the same style of houses down there. And that road there is Campbell Crescent. I'm sure I went to a birthday party down there. I think her name was Heather. Can't remember her surname. She was quite a well-to-do little girl. I always thought she was quite... She had airs and graces. I don't think people at school, I think once they've got a personality at school, they carry that into adulthood. I know I have. Some people have grown up, but I haven't. Hopefully you can still hear me. This is a railway bridge that crosses over a disused railway line, but it's now called the Worth Way. It's been like this for many years because I used to walk and cycle along this. You could cycle to, the next town over is called Crawley, and it was possible to cycle to Crawley, and I used to do it. Yeah, people are walking their dogs now. Let's cross over the road quickly, don't get run over. Run, run, run. So in that direction you can cycle all the way to Crawley down, and then back when I lived here in the 80s, you could cycle to Crawley. It did involve a bit of road travel, cycling on the road. Not sure if you can still do that now. It's quite a distance. Well, it did seem like quite a distance. But we used to do it quite often on a Saturday. So, yeah, it was fun. So this now goes all the way down to where I used to live. And we've got typical 60s, 1960s, late 60s, 60s style houses, semi-detached. Let's cross over again. That's another shortcut I sometimes used to go down there. But as I said, this is Worth Way. If I was to go down it that way, I would get into East Grinstead, where the railway station is. That's only a quarter of a mile. And the other way, well, it says Crawley, 6.5. Oh, I wonder if you can get to Crawley. I might walk to Crawley, doubt it. This is still Gardenwood Road. The one thing I notice is how much bigger the trees are. That would not have been anywhere that size when I was walking home from school or cycling home. I did cycle home most of the time. Most of the roads on the Gardenwood estate are named after poets and possibly authors, but certainly named after, yes, poets and authors, because we have Austin Close coming up. Named after Jane Austen, I think. This is still, I said, it's still Gardenwood Road, so it could be the longest road in East Grinstead. There are various shortcuts I could take. I could have gone down Austin Close, and there's a path that runs all the way down that gets... I used to vary my route home because I got bored doing the same route. Look at these trees, said they've grown up considerably since I lived here. I don't remember there being a bench there either. That's been dedicated to someone. Coming up to Byron Grove, one of my friends, didn't have many, called Michael Purser, I used to go shoplifting with. Shh. Lived on the end there with his mum. There's Burns Way. But as I said, apart from the trees getting a bit bigger, it's not changed in... Well, I lived here from the late 70s up until March 1986. But yeah, there's a lot more traffic. A lot more traffic. It's awful. The Brownings there, that just goes along, and a lot of these houses have been extended because they're okay in their time. They were like 3-bedroom semi, 2 bedrooms and a box room. But people now want ensuite bathrooms and downstairs loos. So you'll find many of these homes have got extensions on the back or on the side or over the garages. We're coming down to some bigger, posher houses. Oh, look, a Ocado deliver here. Some bigger, posher houses coming down now. Just past Dickens Close there. And there's Chaucer Avenue. But yes, I was always rather envious of these homes when I was a kid. I thought, I want to live in one of those. I was still very much a social climber, even at primary school. But very nice houses. Oh, it's so loud, isn't it? Well, that's been extended. Now up there is Kipling Way. A lot more houses up there, and quite a few school friends lived up there, but it's a dead end. There's no way through. Just a lot goes off. There's a lot more houses named after poets, not houses, street names. The Brontes, and I only remember the Brontes because a friend lived there, but they're all named after. So Kipling, I think, will be named after Rudyard Kipling. Used to walk through these woods here sometimes. There's a stream, I think. There was a stream. We've had so much dry weather now, it might have dried up. There was a stream. We're still on Gardenwood Road. We'll soon be coming up to the viaduct that I went over yesterday on the Bluebell Railway. When I lived here, there were no trains going over that. The line stopped at the viaduct. And I always wanted to see what the view was like from the top. And so yesterday I had my chance. Can't see whether there's a stream down there anymore. I don't fancy going in there now. It's a lot more overgrown than it was. I think there used to be a bit of a path a bit further up. Oh yes, there is some water. There is a little stream. So we're nearly at the end of Gardenwood Road, very nearly. And that's the viaduct. Quite an impressive structure. There's more houses. When I was at primary school, I used to come home this way. I might be showing you my primary school and my other school. I went to 3 schools here. But yeah, there's the viaduct. Soon to come into my house. At least there's no cars parked here. When I was here last, there was cars parked all along here. Because obviously when I was at school, people had 1 car, if that. Sometimes they didn't have any cars. But now a lot of homes have 2 cars, don't they? Or sometimes 3. And no place to put them, and most of their garages obviously full of junk or other things like mine is. It's quite impressive. I used to play the game when I used to walk home from school. I used to see a landmark and I used to say to myself, if I beat the next car to that pole or that street sign, some nice thing would happen, you know. I'd make up some treat. I'd find something under my bed that I wanted, some toy, but never materialised. But I was just playing at the power of positive thinking then. You see, it's quite a big, very big, impressive viaduct. Hope all the cars aren't ruining this. Nearly coming up to my old house. One bit of information for you. I think it was the End House. Now, not a lot of you will know this reference, but there was a man who presented a children's show called Pipkins. He was black man, or coloured as we used to say back in the day. We used to say coloured, but now he was a black man anyway. He used to present Pipkins. So we're coming to my house. I hope I'm going to be a bit quiet. They've got the windows open. The only addition that wasn't on this house, it's now got a front porch and a downstairs loo. But it's the second one along. Many memories. And 2 dogs, I think, are buried at the top of the garden. I'll be quiet now. So that was my house with the red front door, 179 Gardenwood Road. And what was really fascinating about that house, it was up for sale a few years ago, and I looked at the particulars online, and what we couldn't believe, we left there in 1986, it was sold a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. It still had the original kitchen, the original orange tiles that my dad put in the kitchen. I know he got the seconds, they were orange and brown. But it also had the original front bedroom with the Hygiena or MFI furniture that my dad installed. The same dusky pink carpet. I couldn't believe it. Exactly the same from 1986. So I'm walking now into Brooklands Park. Back in the late 70s, I remember there used to be a swimming pool, an open-air swimming pool, until they built the new King's Centre. I actually lived here when they were building that. But there's no swimming pool here now. It wouldn't be allowed, I think, by health and safety regulations. So I used to come here, sometimes a shortcut, sometimes just to play with my mates. Again, it's a lot more grown. The trees are bigger than I remember them. These garages, much the same. They were dilapidated back then. They're still dilapidated. I don't know if they're used. I'm not sure what houses they belong to either. One little story, I don't know. Oh, it's a lot bigger than it was. I'm sure it's this tree. I think it is this tree, but it was a lot smaller. Hang on, I'm going to have to watch where I'm stepping now. Yeah. Little bit of a stream. This tree, I can't see it being another one. Yes, but this is considerably, get my words out, considerably bigger than it was. This where tragically, I remember it distinctly, and I don't know the details, I'm afraid, I was only a kid, but a man took his own life here. He shot himself because I remember coming down here a day or two after, and I could see there still had dried blood on the earth. The earth had been dug over, but there were still signs of blood. I'm sure there's some people that know what happened about that tragic man that shot himself. So, sorry I don't know your name, but I hope wherever you are now, you're happier than you were when you ended your life under this tree. Anyway, nowadays you might find people shooting up and doing all sorts of drugs and things. You didn't get that. Well, I didn't know about it. I think the worst people did was drink cider and smoke. I'm going to show you a little pipe I used to go through. I'm not going to attempt it again. It might be blocked off now. It used to be a fun thing we did. If I can get through. This path is much the same. It's a little bit more overgrown than it was. Been having a little bit of a weepy moment when I wasn't filming. It brings back a lot of memories, doesn't it, when you visit places you haven't been for a long time, where you grew up. I think the memories, especially in a place where you sort of turned from a child into a teenager, very important part of one's life. Seeing these places stirs up a lot of emotion, and you think of the people that are no longer here in your life that used to be. Anyway, we're coming up to this little pipe here that takes water from another part of the stream. I'm not going to attempt it. I think I did the last time I was here. I don't know whether to jump down there. I might risk it. I used to be able to just jump down here. As long as I can scramble up the other side, I think it'll be okay. Well, I'm down here, so hopefully I'll be able to get up again. But as a kid, I used to climb through that, go through that hole. Just something we did for some reason. I'm not going to attempt it now. I'll probably get the fire brigade coming to rescue me. Again, it's much as it was, just a little bit more overgrown. Okay, I'm going to attempt to get up here. Shall I film it in case I think it'll be okay. Oh. Heck, ooh, nearly. And here's the other side. Again, much more overgrown than it was. As I said, oh no, I would not attempt to do that, even for old time's sake. Lots of stinging nettles. I was considerably younger and considerably smaller and thinner when I went through that hole. Up here, this path would have led to Brooklands swimming pool. And if you're watching this who used to live in East Grinstead or still do, might remember it. But if I walk up that way, I come on to another road that if I keep walking up will take me into town, which I will be going into town later. I'm not sure how much of it I'll film. Obviously there'll be a lot more people around. And it's not like I'm in London filming all the landmarks. It's a bit odd when I'm just in a small market town in West Sussex filming. But I have a legitimate reason, obviously. It's for my memories and to share it with some of you who might be interested in East Grinstead or just interested in where I used to live. I'm pretty sure that this area here is where the pool would have been, this flat area, and where it goes up in a bank. There were concrete steps that you used to sit on when you weren't having a swim, and when we had hot summers, which we are having now at the moment, the concrete slabs used to get red hot. But yes, used to come here a few times. And I think there used to be some changing rooms over there, but now it's a bit of a car park being put up there, and now it's just grassed over. Hopefully they've filled it in correctly, otherwise I'll be going down a big hole. See, this path around here wouldn't have been here. It's very pleasant, this little bit of an oasis in the middle of the town. Well, not quite the middle, just a little bit on the outskirts. There's a load of green spaces around East Grinstead. Plenty of places to get out and walk dogs and do things. It's a nice part of the world, Sussex, but as I said, I don't think I would want to live here again, to be honest. It's not the East Grinstead I knew. Nice to visit, but yes, I wouldn't live here again. Just up there is another little shortcut I used to take. That takes you up to Brooklands Way, or is it Brooklands Road? I think it's Brooklands Way. Just at the top of there used to be a shop. It's now been knocked down and there's some houses there. That shop used to be open on a Sunday when shops didn't open on a Sunday. So that was one of the places I would go for sweets or a magazine. Oh, not a magazine back then, it would have been a comic back then. Or perhaps my dad wanted a newspaper. Would have gone to Brooklands Stores, as it was called back then. This playground wasn't here when I lived here, but there was. I seem to remember there was at least some swings around about where those swings are now. I think there might have been a slide as well. But nowadays there's all this health and safety. I mean, back in the day, in the village I used to live in, which is near here, called Lingfield, we went to a park and it had one of those great big slides, really high up, with nothing to protect you if you fell off, because it was in concrete. But, you know, I think, well, I survived it. I used to survive going up that slide, up the wrong way, down the wrong way. We even had a dog, Honey, who used to go up it and slide down. She used to climb up the steps. We've got cine film of that somewhere, bless her. But now it has to be on these, obviously these soft surfaces. Everything has to be health and safety now. And it's not, I don't think it's because we've become more caring. I think it's because we've become more litigious and people are more likely to sue if little Johnny or Susie scrapes their knee. So that's why we have all these things in place. So for some reason this area has been just left. Obviously the council have been along and trimmed up the grass in certain places, but this middle area, now it's probably because it's boggy. I'd like to think they've left it as a little nature reserve for the insects and butterflies and bees and birds who make use of this, but I don't think they've done it for that reason. I think it's because it is so boggy here. They couldn't, you know, get their grass cutting equipment into that. It'll soon get stuck. So it's just been left. You can hear crickets, if you can hear them above the cars. I can hear them anyway. Crickets in here. So it's a little haven for the other creatures of this world. Well, it's very hot, as you can see. It's still morning. I don't know what time it is. But I'm going to go back up the Gardenwood estate, but I'm going to go some different areas. Probably go to the station and walk down, actually. I might not speak in a lot of it. For one, it's a bit awkward speaking to camera when I'm filming. And for another, the traffic noise could be affecting you hearing me, so I might dub over a lot of this when I get home. But hopefully you'll be able to see everything I've been showing you.